So ferrites are used to produce low frequency ultrasonic waves using the principle of magnostriction. Copper for this purpose. Okay. So mainly ferrites are used to produce ultrasonic waves, mainly in magnetostriction effect. So copper, nickel, cobalt ferrites are used for this purpose. Ferrite rods are used in radio receivers to increase the sensitivity and selectivity of the receiver. So ferrite rods are used in radio receivers to increase the sensitivity and selectivity of the receiver. And third is in the low frequency range, they are used as a cores in audio and TV transformers, inductors, uh, tuners, etc. Thermal sensing, thermal sensing ferrites are used as switches in refrigerators, air conditioners, electronic ovens, and fire detection systems. Uh, Coming to microwave applications, high frequency electromagnetic wave can penetrate and propagate through ferrites. So they will be used for designing non-reciprocal ferrite devices such as isolators and circulators. Microwave signals can be amplified using ferrite amplifiers with very low noise figures. So these are the applications of ferrites. Now coming to soft and hard magnetic materials. Soft and hard magnetic materials. Based on the ease of magnetization, the magnetic materials are classified as soft magnetic materials and hard magnetic materials. Uh, Coming to soft magnetic materials, if it is easy to magnetize or demagnetize the material, then such a magnetic material is called as soft magnetic material. Means if the magnetization, the getting of magnetization is easy, as well as magnetization and demagnetization both are easy, then such material is called soft magnetic material. Soft magnetic materials reach their saturation magnetization with a relatively low applied field and exhibit low hysteresis energy losses. A low value of coercivity corresponds to the easy movement of domain walls as the applied magnetic field changes in magnitude and direction. Okay, so by the application of the external uh, magnetic field, the getting of magnetization and demagnetization of a material is known as soft magnetic material. Soft magnetic materials reach their saturation magnetization with a relatively low applied magnetic field and exhibit low hysteresis energy losses. So a low value of coercivity corresponds to the easy movement of domain walls as the applied magnetic field changes in magnitude and direction. Structural defects impede the domain wall motion and increased coercivity. So, a soft magnetic material must be free from such structural defects. Structural defects. The following characterize soft magnetic. So the following are the characteristic properties of soft magnetic materials. The area of hysteresis. So this one, the area of hysteresis curve is in soft magnetic materials is less. This means width of the loop is less, and soft magnetic materials exhibit small hysteresis loss. Coercivity and reactivity are small. Coercivity and reactivity are small in soft magnetic materials. Those possess large values of permeability and susceptibility. Eddy current loss is small due to their higher resistivity. So resistivity of soft magnetic materials is very high. So that eddy current loss is small in soft magnetic materials. Soft magnetic materials are used in applications which require frequent reversal of direction of the magnetization, such as motors, inductors, and generators. So soft magnetic materials are mainly used in transformers, motors, inductors, and generators. Why? Because the getting of magnetization and demagnetization is very easy in soft magnetic materials, so that these soft magnetic materials are used in both transformers as well as motors, generators, inductors, etc. Examples of soft magnetic materials are uh, permal, permalloy, alloy of iron and nickel, silicon iron alloy, pure iron, pure iron, mumetal alloy of nickel, copper, chromium, and iron, and amorphous ferrous alloys, etc. Okay, these are the examples for soft magnetic materials and are the characteristic properties of soft magnetic materials. Now coming to hard magnetic materials, if it not easily magnetized or demagnetized, then such kind of magnetic material is called hard magnetic material. Here, a large amount of reverse field is required to demagnetize the specimen. The following are the characteristic properties of hard magnetic material. The area of the hysteresis loop in hard magnetic materials is very large. Hence, the hard magnetic materials exhibit a large hysteresis loss. So, the area of the hysteresis loop is very large in hard magnetic materials, so that it requires a large amount of external magnetic field to demagnetize the material. Second point is coercivity and retentivity is large. These possesses small values of permeability and susceptibility. Eddy current loss is more due to the small resistivity. These are used to produce permanent magnets. Permanent magnets are used in magnetic detectors, microphones, flux meters, and voltage regulators and magnetic separators, etc. Examples of hard magnetic materials are alnico, uh, samarium cobalt alloy, tungsten steel alloy, platinum cobalt alloy, and invar steels. Now coming to the applications of magnetic materials, soft magnetic materials are used in a wide variety of electrical machines in daily use, such as power transformers, output transformers, motors, generators, electromagnets, etc. Electrical Electrical steels are used as core materials in these machines. Hard magnetic materials are used in fabrication of permanent magnets, which retain their magnetic field indefinitely. Some of the most important uses of soft ferrites are for a signal low signal memory core, audio visual, and recording head applications. At low signal levels, soft ferrite cores are used for transformers and low energy inductors. A large use for detection, deflection yoke cores, flyback transformers, and convergence coils for television receivers. These are all the applications. Hard ferrites are used in making permanent magnets. They are widely used in generators, relays, loudspeakers, telephone ringers, toys, etc., where a high energy product is essential. Hard ferrite powder are often mixed with the plastic materials to form flexible magnets for door closure and other holding devices. Ferrites are used to produce low range ultrasonic waves by magnetostriction. Ferrite rods are used in radio receivers. Magnetic materials are widely used for storage information. The recording and television industries rely heavily on magnetic tapes for the storage and reproduction of audio and video sequences. Credit cards having magnetic strips are coming into popular use. Computers are backed up with magnetic discs and tapes to store larger quantities of information at lower cost. Small segments of magnetic storage medium retain computer bytes, sound or visual images, which are transferred to and retrieved from the medium by a recording reading card. So, number of applications are there for magnetic materials. Soft and hard magnetic materials. There are two kinds of materials. So, mainly magnetic materials are used in a wide variety of engineering applications as well as industrial applications. Okay. Hard magnetic materials are used to create permanent magnets. Okay. Uh, and the microwave ovens, etc. Number of applications are there. These are all the applications. Now coming to important questions in magnetics. So ఇక్కడ వరకు ఇది అయిపోయింది మనకి. So important questions in magnetic materials. Already చెప్పుకున్నాం కదా double star as well as single star questions. What is the origin of magnetization of the materials? What are the different contributions to the magnetic movement of an atom? That is very important question. Give a classification of magnetic materials. Dia, para, ferro, antiferro, that one. Using the Weiss domain theory, how the ferromagnetism can be explained. So using next, what is hysteresis? How it can be explained in magnetic materials using Weiss domain theory. So hysteresis చెప్పుకున్నాం కదా, that one. Give a classification of permanent magnetic materials or distinguish between soft and hard magnetic materials. Sixth one, discuss the applications of magnetic materials. Seventh one, define Bohr magneton and explain its significance. సో బోర్ మ్యాగ్నెటాన్ అంటే మనం చెప్పుకున్నాం కదా, ఒక డెరివేషన్ ఉంటుంది. ఆ డెరివేషన్ తర్వాత ఫైనల్ గా బోర్ మ్యాగ్నెటాన్ డిరైవ్ చేస్తాం కదా. సో దట్ ఇవి ఇంపార్టెంట్ క్వశ్చన్స్. సో ఆర్బిటల్ మ్యాగ్నెటిక్ మూమెంట్ దగ్గర మనం డిరైవ్ చేస్తాం బోర్ మ్యాగ్నెటార్, బోర్ మ్యాగ్నెటార్ అండ్ సిగ్నిఫికెన్స్. ఓకే, ఇది మ్యాగ్నెటిక్ మెటీరియల్స్. డైఎలక్ట్రిక్స్ వదిలేస్తారు కాబట్టి మ్యాగ్నెటిక్ మెటీరియల్స్ కంప్లీట్ గా చదువుకోవాలి. నెక్స్ట్ లేజర్స్ అండ్ ఆప్టికల్ ఫైబర్స్. ఈ సిలబస్ లో ఉన్న నెక్స్ట్ యూనిట్ లేజర్స్ అండ్ ఆప్టికల్ ఫైబర్స్. ఓకే, చదువుకోవచ్చు, ఏమైనా ప్రాబ్లం లేదు. మ్యాగ్నెటిక్ మెటీరియల్స్ కానీ డైఎలక్ట్రిక్స్ కానీ మీకు ఏది ఈజీగా అనిపిస్తే అది చదువుకోండి, ఏదైనా పర్వాలేదు. ఏదో ఒకటి చదివితే సరిపోతుంది అని, అందులో ఏది మీకు ఈజీగా అనిపిస్తే డైఎలక్ట్రిక్స్ అయితే డైఎలక్ట్రిక్స్, మ్యాగ్నెటిక్ మెటీరియల్స్ ఈజీగా అనిపిస్తే మ్యాగ్నెటిక్ మెటీరియల్స్, మీ ఇష్టం. ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ థర్డ్ యూనిట్ వచ్చి లేజర్స్ అండ్ ఫైబర్ ఆప్టిక్స్. ఓకే, ఆల్రెడీ మెటీరియల్ నేను పంపించినట్టున్నాను లేజర్స్ కి ఫైబర్ ఆప్టిక్స్ కి, మీకు షేర్ చేశానా? షేర్ చేశానా లేదా? చేయలేదా? ఓకే, సరే. నేను తర్వాత ఇది లేజర్స్ అండ్ ఫైబర్ ఆప్టిక్స్ పంపిస్తాను. రైట్, So now coming to the third unit. Third unit contains again two sub chapters. One is lasers, another one is fiber optics. Now coming to lasers. Uh, so laser is the in lasers already I sent you the syllabus. In lasers there are certain subtopics are there. The subtopics are introduction, interaction of radiation with matter, condition for light amplification, essential requirement, Einstein's relations, requirements of laser device, types of lasers, design and working of ruby and helium neon lasers, laser characteristics and applications of lasers. Okay, so these are the topics in the chapter lasers contains. So now coming to the introduction. So first of all, what is laser? So laser is the acronym for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So laser means LASER, the acronym for laser is light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So means light gets amplified by stimulated emission of radiation. Okay, so already the laser lights చూసుంటారు. So what is the difference between a laser light and a normal light? What is the difference? Anyone? Okay, so no problem. So the word laser stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of. So the basic principle involved in lasing action is the phenomenon of stimulated emission, which was predicted by Einstein in the year 1970. Okay, so the basic principle involved in lasing action is the phenomenon of stimulated emission. Already cheptunnam chudandi, laser means light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So light gets amplified by stimulated emission of radiation. So that is an artificial situation created in a light which was predicted by that is called stimulated emission, which was predicted by the scientist Einstein in the year 1970. Okay, Einstein argued that when an atom is in the excited state, it can make a transition to a lower energy state through the emission of electromagnetic radiation. Suppose, let us imagine if you consider a particular material or any matter. So matter consisting of number of atoms. Okay, so whenever the light is incident on that particular matter, then the atoms which are consisting in the material gets absorbs that particular radiation, means incident energy, and goes to higher energy levels. Okay, so Einstein argued that when an atom is in the excited state, means that energy and goes to higher excited level, it can make a transition to a lower energy state through the emission of electromagnetic radiation. So ఏదైతే ఆటమ్ ఎనర్జీని అబ్జార్బ్ చేసుకొని హయ్యర్ ఎగ్జైటెడ్ స్టేట్ వెళ్తుందో అదేం చేస్తుంది, ఆఫ్టర్ కంప్లీషన్ ఆఫ్ ఇట్స్ లైఫ్ టైమ్ ఇట్ కమ్స్ టు గ్రౌండ్ లెవెల్ బై రిలీజింగ్ electromagnetic radiation. Okay, so however, in contrast to the absorption process, the emission can occur in two different ways. So here the emission process can occur in two different ways. The first one is referred to as spontaneous emission and the other is stimulated emission. Okay, so here the emission process takes place in two ways. Means the atom which is in the excited state can take a downward transition by releasing a photon of energy. So that releasing of photon of energy can take place in two ways. One is spontaneous emission and the another one is stimulated emission. Okay, so the theory of laser was proposed in 1958 by Towns and uh, Towns in USA. The first successful laser was Ruby laser, built by an American physicist, Feynman, in the year 1960. Okay, so the first successful laser was uh, built by an American scientist. His name was Feynman in the year 1960, and that laser light is called as Ruby laser. Okay, so laser is a device which can produce highly coherent, highly directional, and high intense beam of monochromatic radiation. So laser is a device which can produce light, coherent light, a highly directional and high intense beam of monochromatic radiation. That is, laser is an amplifier of light. So laser is an amplifier of light. It is also known as a generator of light. The devices in which the emitted light radiation is not only coherent in phase but also in the direction of emission and the state of polarization. Such devices are known as lasers. Okay, so lasers are used in many fields of science and technology like radio, astronomy, satellite communications, optical fiber communications, holography, data processing, testing and welding of materials, medicine, etc. So in all these applications, different laser sources are used. Okay, laser is a generator which is used to highly coherent, highly monochromatic, highly intense beam of laser light. So another one is there, that is maser. Maser is an amplifier only at high frequencies. That means maser is a device also that maser only amplifies the amount of light. But laser is a generator of highly coherent, highly monochromatic and highly intense and highly polarization beam of light. Okay, so here the laser lights are mainly used in satellite communications, optical fiber communications, holography, data processing, testing and welding of materials, as well as medical industry, etc. In all these applications, different laser sources are used. Okay, now coming to the interaction of radiation with matter. So whenever the light interacts with matter, then the transitions takes place. Here the transitions takes place in three different processes. One is absorption, another one is emission, that is spontaneous emission, and the third one is stimulated emission. Okay, so ఎప్పుడైతే light మెటీరియల్ ఒక మ్యాటర్ తో ఇంటరాక్ట్ అవుతుందో దెన్ ఏమవుతుంది, that light is absorbed by the matter. So matter means matter consisting of atoms. Okay, so means that light is absorbed by the atoms, so that the atoms which are absorb the incident light goes to higher excited levels, that is for spontaneous emission. And the third one is, after completion of their lifetimes, the atoms comes to ground level by releasing such amount of light which was absorbed in the initial stage. Okay, here means interaction of radiation with matter takes place in three different processes. One is absorption, another one is spontaneous emission, and the third one is stimulated emission. Now coming to absorption. So here an atom or molecule residing in the lower energy state E1 may absorb an incident photon and jump to the excited state E2 as shown in the figure. Suppose here imagine there are two energy levels E1 and E2. Okay, matter consisting of two energy levels, that is E1 and E2. Here E1 is called the ground level and E2 is called the higher excited level. Just imagine, okay? So means here the atoms in the material are situated at different energy levels. Okay, and suppose E1 అనే energy ఉన్న atoms అన్ని కూడా means ground level లో situate అయి ఉన్నాయి అనుకుందాం. Okay, so then ఎప్పుడైతే మ్యాటర్ మీద లైట్ ఎనర్జీ అనేది ఇన్సిడెంట్ అవుతుందో, రేడియేషన్ ఇన్సిడెంట్ అవుతుందో, సో దెన్ ద atoms which are residing in the lower energy level absorbs that energy, then those atoms goes to higher excited level, means E2 level. So even ఏం చేస్తుంది, ఇన్సిడెంట్ ఎనర్జీని అబ్జార్బ్ చేసుకొని హైయర్ ఎగ్జైటెడ్ లెవెల్ కి ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ అవుతుంది. మీన్స్ ఏం జరుగుతుంది ఇక్కడ, దిస్ ప్రాసెస్ ఇస్ కాల్డ్ అబ్జార్ప్షన్. Okay, so means an atom or molecule residing in the lower energy state E1 may absorb an incident photon and jump to the excited state E2 as shown in the figure. This transition is known as induced absorption or absorption simply. Why induced means here this process is forced process, అంటే forcing, మనం కొంత ఎనర్జీని సప్లై చేస్తున్నాము ఎక్స్టర్నల్ గా, so that atom goes to higher excited level by absorbing the photon of energy. So then that means here this absorption is called simply induced absorption or absorption. So here the number of absorption transitions occurring in the material at any instant will be proportional to the number of atoms in the lower state E1. Okay, absorption దేని మీద డిపెండ్ అయి ఉంటుంది, one is the number of atoms which are residing in the lower energy level. Okay thing. So means the number of absorption transitions occurring in the material at any instant will be proportional to the number of atoms in the lower energy state E1. So ఇక్కడ ఎక్కువ number of atoms ఉంటేనే కదా number of atoms అనే ఎనర్జీని అబ్జార్బ్ చేసుకుని హైయర్ ఎక్సైటెడ్ స్టేట్ కి వెళ్తాయి. That one thing. Okay, means here absorption transitions is directly proportional to the number of atoms which are present in the lower energy state. And the number of photons in the incident beam. ఇంకొకటి ఏంటి, ఈ ఇన్సిడెంట్ బీమ్ లైట్ ఇన్సిడెంట్ అవుతుంది కదా, ఈ ఇన్సిడెంట్ బీమ్ ఏదైతే ఉందో ఇందులో నంబర్ ఆఫ్ ఫోటాన్స్ అనే ఉండాలి, ఎక్కువ నంబర్ ఆఫ్ ఫోటాన్స్. ఇక్కడ ఫోటాన్స్ లేకపోయినా అబ్జార్ప్షన్ ట్రాన్సిషన్స్ అనేవి జరగవు. ఓకే, అనదర్ వన్ ఈస్ the number of absorption transitions is directly proportional to the photons which are in the incident beam. Normally the number of atoms is greater in the lower energy state and the material absorbs incident energy. So the number of atoms NAB excited during the time delta t is given by NAB is equal to B12 N1 Q delta t. Okay, so means the number of absorption transitions occurring in a time interval delta t can be written as NAB is equal to B12 N1 Q delta t. Okay, this can be written as like this. This is the equation represents the number of absorption transitions in a given time interval delta t. Okay, so here B12 where N1 is known as is the number of atoms in the state E1. Q is the energy density of the incident beam and B12 is known as the Einstein coefficient for induced absorption. Okay, so here where N1 is the number of atoms present in the lower energy state and Q is the energy density, this Q is also known as spectral energy density, means the amount of energy which is supplying to the material to absorb the to the atoms which are excited to higher excited levels. Okay, another one is B12 is known as the proportionality constant and is also known as Einstein coefficient for induced absorption. Okay, so this equation represents the number of absorption transitions in a given time interval delta t. Okay, and this equation simply can be written mathematically. This equation can be written as A ప్లస్ హెచ్ న్యూ గివ్స్ రైస్ టు ఏ స్టార్. యాక్చువల్ గా ఇక్కడ మీకు రిప్రజెంట్ చేయలేదు మీ మెటీరియల్ లో. దీన్ని ఎలా రాస్తాము మ్యాథమెటికల్ గా? ఏ ప్లస్ హెచ్ న్యూ గివ్స్ రైస్ టు ఏ స్టార్. A means the atom which is present in the lower energy state, that atom absorbs a certain amount of energy, means photon energy h nu, and it goes to higher excited level, gives rise to A star. Means A star is the atom which is in the higher excited state. You can చూడండి before this one. A is the atom which is present in the lower energy state, and this atom absorbs h nu amount of energy, means photon energy. Photon energy the energy ఎలా రిప్రజెంట్ చేస్తాము? h nu తో రిప్రజెంట్ చేస్తాము. h is Planck's constant and nu is the frequency of radiation. Okay, this h nu is equal to E2 minus E1. And the amount of energy difference E2 minus E1. So absorbs this amount of energy, means ఇక్కడ చూడండి h nu plus E1 gives rise to E2. అంతే కదా? h nu plus E1 means E1 is the atom which is present in the, E1 is the ground level energy. So E1 plus h nu, E1 లో ఉన్న atoms ఎలా రిప్రజెంట్ చేస్తాం? A తో రిప్రజెంట్ చేస్తాం. A plus h nu gives rise to A star. Okay, ఇక్కడ చూడండి after that the atom present in the higher excited level. సో ఈ h nu అనే ఎనర్జీని అబ్జార్బ్ చేసుకొని ఏం చేసింది? ఆ ఆటమ్ హైయర్ ఎక్సైటెడ్ స్టేట్ కి ట్రాన్స్మిట్ అయింది. సో ఈ ప్రాసెస్ ని సింప్లీ ఏమంటామంటే అబ్జార్ప్షన్ ఆర్ అదర్వైజ్ ఇండ్యూస్డ్ అబ్జార్ప్షన్. దిస్ ఈస్ నోన్ యాజ్ అబ్జార్ప్షన్ ప్రాసెస్. అనదర్ వన్ ఈస్ స్పాంటేనియస్ ఎమిషన్, and the third one is stimulated emission. So next there are some definitions about the processes. Okay, so then this is the chapter of laser, and some few topics about lasers, means introduction about lasers. So then I will discuss about the spontaneous emission as well as the stimulated emission in the next class, that is tomorrow. So I can leave the class because you have another class at 4 o'clock. Okay, so I will send you the material about lasers after completion of this class. Okay, thank you.